Welcome to all who are watching and participating in this solemn celebration of our Lord's Passion and Death. The wood of the cross stands high in our church today. Sadly, it will not be touched, kissed, or hugged as in more recent years. It won't be held by members of RCIA, a very special group in our parish, those seeking baptism, or those who are already baptized in another Christian church, but seek to continue their journey with us in the Catholic Church. With us, they have fixed their eyes on the way. You know the hymn, we've been singing it throughout Lent, but which is all the more poignant in the face of the coronavirus. A mixed group usually comes forward on Good Friday to carry this cross, mixed members of those of RCIA, and when it reaches the steps of the altar, they hold it. And as they do so, I always wonder, what are the feelings that are going through their hearts and minds as our parishioners and visitors and all present come forward to venerate as well. I often think, as I watch the variety of peoples that come forward, as representative of how the Irish author James Joyce described the church. Here comes everyone. I feel somewhat cheated by a virus that has made it impossible for those of you watching and joining in prayer and solidarity unable to be here. Good Friday makes available for all people, young or old, black or white, gay or straight, believer or unbeliever, an opportunity to pray and meditate upon the forgiving victim, Jesus, who took up his cross at a moment in history for the sake of all his Father's creation, including us. We too can come to the cross, no matter how virtuous we are, because there is no virtue worth the name except what comes from the cross. We can come to the cross no matter how negligent we are or how wicked, because the cross stands that we may fall. I'll repeat that line. When we fall, the cross always stands. This year, our celebration is different. I believe that we are at a crossroads in the life of the world, and I sincerely hope in the life of our church. What the future looks like, we can only imagine. Today's worship in this building and in the homes and families of you watching, both throughout the parish, throughout the country, and those who tune in from miles away, we all stand under the same shadow, the shadow of Corona, but more stronger than a virus, the power of the cross that always stands. We heard in that reading of the Gospel from John, Jesus' words, "It is accomplished." On a hill outside of Jerusalem, Jesus was crucified by Roman soldiers. From that hard core of our faith, everything else stands or falls. We know that we can so easily, if we're not careful, fall back into our old way of life. Jeffrey Preston said, the fact remains that Jesus was crucified. And all our failures and all our downright and deliberate wickedness cannot remove that fact. To it, we can return in penitence. We fail to lay down our lives for one another, fail to lay down even 5 minutes of our lives for one another. Yet the fact remains that Jesus was nailed to a cross and died when Pontius Pilate was governor of Judea. There stands the hard fact of its history, no matter how we respond to it. The cross, in the light of the coronavirus. That book and books in great number will be written. Many dedicated men and women have taken up the call to care. Health workers have already contracted the virus. Cleaners, janitors, cafeteria staff also put their lives in danger because of love and care for others. Only last weekend in New Jersey, a healthcare specialist, a trauma specialist, who worked with those suffering from AIDS in the 80s and 90s, met his death, doing what he loved to do, care for those who were ill, leaving a family, a partner. A moment of silence for Dr. Frank Gabrin. The liturgy of Good Friday centers around wood. Not our beautiful crucifix that plays a central role in our renewed space for worship. Not Salvador Dali's Christ of St. John on the cross. No, nothing so beautiful. No, wood, hard, solid, dependable. The authors of the medieval Passion Play expressed this well when they said, "Flesh spoken by the centurion when the first sound of the hammer rang. Bone," he said, as he hears the second nail. Wood, as the nail bites into the cross itself. This action, venerating the cross as we call it, has been done for 1600 years. It still finds a response. Even with the hard of hearing, perhaps it's not with our ears that we really hear it. We have heard it, and we are responding at this time in the life of our world. And we remember this day those members of RCIA unable to be with us, but hopefully participating and sharing from their own homes and amongst those who love them. And we remember especially two preparing for baptism.
Candidates Lionel Flores and Elizabeth Stauffer.
All those throughout the world seeking full communion with the Catholic Church, and those from our own parish.
Liza Chapman, Debbie Lopez, Danny Lopez, Jordan Francis, Jose Pinazola, Julian Desideno, Kate Lynn, Catherine Blackwell, May Hargrove O'Brien, Mallory Salem, Paul Lee, and Annette Moreno.
All those present to the sounds of death and dying have heard it but may not know what it is. We know it as the eternal, it is finished, by Jesus on the cross, who fulfilled God's will, revealing to us what real love is. The sounds of those sick and suffering, courageous nurses and doctors, and all who help in hospitals. Through all that lies ahead, may we too be courageous. May we too be faithful. Together, reflecting on Jesus crucified, may we see him in focus and be brought to a still point. And as we get to see Jesus in focus, we see through him to the very heart of God.
Please like, subscribe or comment below.